Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ballet. Welcome to a very special episode of Fairiations with Ballet, because for 5 episodes now, we have gone through all of Sleeping Beauty's fairy variations and revealed all of the hidden lore and the secret symbolism behind each one.
Finally today, in episode 6 of the series, we're going to be sort of wrapping up the Fairiation series with the leader of the fairy ecosystem herself, which is in fact the Lilac Fairy.
Every fairy thus far has come to perform a variation for the baby Princess Aurora and bless her with a very special, unique gift. And the Lilac Fairy is the final one, the final variation of the Fairiation lineup.
And her gift is the most important of all because it is the gift that does get Princess Aurora through the 100-year curse and into her happy ending at the end of the ballet. So we have been very excited for this episode, and hopefully you are too. So if you are ready for the video, make sure you tap the like button, hype it as well, and let's get going.
I'm not gonna lie, I've been waiting for this episode.
Yeah.
Because the symbolism is so cool, you guys. So first we will introduce the fairy, and this is of course the Lilac Fairy, and a lot of the fairies previously have all had sort of different names that they go by. Lilac Fairy is not like that. She is pretty universally the Lilac Fairy,
yes.
TM, or occasionally in French, Fée de Lilas.
Basically the Lilac
Fairy. The Lilac Fairy in French,
In
or
French.
the Lilac Fairy in English. And so that keeps it simple because she's just that iconic. She is sort of like the benevolent leader of the fairies.
Agreed.
So the Fairiations lineup is obviously at the prologue of the Sleeping Beauty during the baby Princess Aurora's christening ceremony.
You can see all the previous episodes linked above and below
In a
after this
beautiful
video.
playlist.
Oh yeah.
We've had five
fantastic
beautiful variations so far. We've had Candide, who gives the gift of sincerity and candor in general. Then we have Coulante, or the Fleur de Farine, who brings Princess Aurora the gift of beauty and vitality and health. Miette qui tombe, the breadcrumb fairy, who gives the gift of generosity and prosperity. And then after that we have Canary qui chante, or Canary Fairy, who is the little bird that comes in and eat the breadcrumbs, like metaphorically. And she gives the Princess Aurora the gift of song and of musicality and sort of eloquence. And then after this we have Violante, whose gift is assertiveness and leadership and
power.
Energy and power. And so we've had a pretty impressive lineup so far of pretty amazing gifts. And the Lilac Fairy is the final fairy. Although that being said, there are some very famous productions where the Lilac Fairy is not actually a dancing role at all.
Yes.
Like, I think the Nurea version, commonly done by the Paris Opera Ballet.
I think La Scala as well.
Perhaps La Scala. In those productions, the Lilac Fairy is actually a character role, just sort of pantomime and acting. And another fairy dances the Lilac Fairy variation, but it's simply just called Fairy Variation number 6. It depends on the version, but most of the time, generally, the Lilac Fairy will have that spot as the 6th variation in the Fairiations lineup.
As for symbolism, and there is actually some really beautiful stuff in this chapter of the video. As like all the other fairies, the Lilac Fairy does come in with a very special, unique gift to give to the Princess Aurora. And the Lilac Fairy's gift is a gift of wisdom.
Wisdom and also sort of protection for Princess Aurora, because
divine protection.
The Lilac Fairy is like the benevolent leader of all of the fairies, and she's sort of the main undertaker of the princess's christening.
Exactly.
In general. Like she's like the sort of officiant fairy.
It's giving guardian angel.
In a way, like fairy godmother.
Fairy godmother. It gives that sort of vibe.
Yeah. And so she's sort of the one who's the most powerful of the fairies and is the one who ultimately grants her blessing of wisdom and protection over the princess. Lilac Fairy, also being the most powerful of the fairies, is the only one who is powerful enough to sort of counter Caraboss's curse later on in the ballet. So that is sort of generally considered the Lilac Fairy's gift, wisdom and protection.
When it comes to flowers in like historical repertoire and like references and stuff like that, there's actually a lot of symbolism and lore associated with like different kinds of flowers. And lilacs specifically actually have a lot of hidden meaning in them.
Right. Across cultures.
In Russia, apparently there is a tradition back then where they used to hang like branches of lilac over a baby's cradle. And it is supposedly, oddly enough, to bring wisdom
to the child.
To the child as they grow up.
So I think that's probably the most relevant symbolism symbolism.
Because the ballet was created in Russia, so you can imagine, you know, that's sort of like the
symbolism.
The symbolism there.
Although, funnily enough, I feel like lilacs have a lot of symbolism across cultures that do coincide with the lilac fairy in general, despite being from quite different cultures. In the Victorian flower language, for example, I mean, I was doing some research on lilacs, and so I stumbled across it, and it was really cool how it all lines up. Lilacs represent first love, or like young love, which I thought was very, very fitting.
It's so
because
sweet.
if you think about Aurora's curse, where she's asleep for 100 years until, you know, she's awakened by her true love.
Yeah.
It's sort of that idea of like your first love is what brings her to life. Not only do lilacs represent young love, they are also used a lot as symbols of remembrance, because someone gifting another person a lilac would sort of symbolize either an expression of first love or a sort of remembrance or a rekindling of a bond that they already shared. Just in the framework of the entire Sleeping Beauty story, it's his first love for the prince, and it's Aurora's first true love, but it's also a remembrance of 100 years ago. So it's like remembering that bond, that promise from when she fell asleep all the way up until the 100 years end. So I think it's like first love and remembrance of love. Also, in some cultures, lilacs, specifically white ones, but lilacs in general, are sometimes used as representatives of like death and renewal, which again, Sleeping Beauty, she's supposed to die, but she doesn't, and she revived after 100 years.
Yeah.
And so, you guys,
what are the odds? It just all lines up. And here's the even better part. From like a nerdy science-y like biology standpoint, lilac trees are said to live for like pretty much exactly 100 years. So I just think that's really, really funny how the lilac fairy sort of countering the curse of death with like just sleep for 100 years before the remembrance of true love wakes her up.
you guys.
You know what? Symbolism, you guys. I'm telling you, it's so cool.
Like, you can't tell me that Petipa did not know exactly what he was doing.
Exactly.
It makes me wonder, how much did this man know about plants?
Maybe it was accidental. I rather think it was intentional. But it's just so interesting because it's like almost little Easter eggs that you can kind of look at. And if you really look at it like closely, then you can understand what they were trying to get at. Moving into the costuming, again, the last two fairies that we've seen had a fairly cohesive branding. Obviously, the first three were all over the place. Like sometimes Mia is in green, sometimes she's in blue, sometimes she's wearing something completely different. But the last three, including our Lilac Fairy, actually hold a pretty cohesive brand. Obviously, the Lilac Fairy is probably going to be in purple.
I feel like the audience would riot if the Lilac Fairy wasn't anything but purple.
Usually shades of purple, maybe a little bit of white, maybe a little bit of gold or silver in there, just because, you know, she's a magical fairy and all of that. I really don't think I can recall any production where Lilac Fairy was not in purple. I just think that it would make sense that way. The costuming can be different. Obviously, if she's a dancing role, she will be in a plaid or two too. But of course, if she's a character role, sometimes she's in a massive gown. It kind of gives her this sense of royalty in and of herself.
Right.
Like maybe she's not a fairy as in like Tinkerbell fairy, but she's like this greater power of like almost like an angel or a goddess sort of like
Kind
feeling.
of, in a way.
It gives her a very different sort of presence on the stage.
It singles her out as the leader of the fairies, and also it makes it a little more cohesive when she stands next to Karabas.
Exactly, yeah.
Who is also primarily a character artist and is in a long dress, usually in black. That way you have these two forces, we have good and evil, side by side wearing similar costumes, or at least similar ideas. Instead of wearing a tutu, it's like a full dress. Now let's go into the variation itself, which is the moment you've all been waiting for, I'm sure.
Let's go.
The music for Lilac Fairy really does a fantastic job of really encapsulating the Lilac Fairy's aura, because she is meant to be not just graceful, but she's also supposed to hold extraordinary amounts of power, but all expressed in a very queenly, very regal, very benevolent is just the best word.
The best word for her. Obviously, the music is by our fantastic man, Tchaikovsky.
Yes.
We love him.
Love him.
He's been like the star of the show for this entire series. It has that majestic sort of feel to it. It feels it's almost velvety.
It has a richness.
Yeah, it's a richness to it.
It's supposed to represent her wisdom, her power, her grace. It just does a fantastic job with that.
Yeah, it has this sort of like immortal feel.
Like expansive, sort of almost like not cosmic, but like
a little bit. She's this ageless, timeless power.
As for the choreography, Lilac Fairy is notoriously challenging just because of the demands of the role.
And that's just part of it.
You cannot have any seams in your dancing when you're Lilac Fairy. It's all very smooth, very expansive, flowing, uninterrupted, powerful movements.
Yeah, I think that theme just kind of follows her throughout everything. Through the symbolism, the costuming, and just like the overall vibe, the music, everything. So yeah, the choreography, I mean, it's cohesive in that way. The first passage is honestly one of my favorite passages, actually,
to dance and to watch.
Yeah, and to watch. It starts with like this big développé and a little contretemps and a piqué arabesque. And a failli through and a chassé.
It's big failli chassé.
It's beautiful.
Tiny nerdy ballet note.
Yes.
But like what makes it feel so good is if you follow the point of like the point of movement. That's what I call it in my head.
Yes, the point of movement.
The point of movement, it's this développé. So it's a big circle this way, and then you have a little spiral for the contretemps, and then straight up into the piqué arabesque. And it almost goes behind you and loops around for that failli chassé.
Exactly. So it goes this way, this way, and that way. So it really, the direction of energy just has that follow through that just feels so good to dance. And again, as a visual piece of art, you know, it's beautiful to watch. It's very, very satisfying. The next passage, very difficult, you guys, but it's again, very, very beautiful. We have a series of big poses, which I think honestly fits really well with the music.
Because you have big nose. Da, 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 da.
So they all have like big moments where we get to capitalize on those musical hits. So the first one is this piqué attitude, and we have a piqué first arabesque, and then we have a nice piqué turn into this long diagonal line looking over the foot.
And the transitions between these poses have to be absolutely seamless.
I think that's the hardest part about this passage.
All of the articulation through the foot has to be completely seamless, completely smooth. You should never even notice that the dancer has come off point, especially out of that piqué turn into the...
Yeah, exactly. That's the hardest transition for sure, because you're so up on your leg and then you're over.
Straight out of the turn.
And then into this.
There's no additional steps, no steps to gather yourself, no time to calibrate. Whatever you piqué into,
that's where you need to be.
You gotta stay.
This is the part that feels like a queen. This is what feels like that angelic, goddessy sort of feel, because it's not like marching, but it's very placed and placed and placed and placed. It has this very steady, even cadence.
Just
and
to the court.
exactly. It's very expansive, very big shapes. And so I think it really kind of gives that royal feel to it.
Yeah.
Following this, we have a small rest passage, mercy for the dancer. It's sort of just a little beret with a little gentle port-de-bras. Again, kind of just like the lilac tree just sort of swaying in the wind, you could imagine. It's mostly rest for the dancer, because the next passage coming up is by far one of the hardest passages of the entire variation.
The next passage consists of very slow, very luxurious seesaw.
Seesaw filming.
So we have seesaw, retrograde prepare, pirouette. Doesn't seem too hard when I say it, but when you're dancing it, it's so hard because it's so slow.
It is slow.
And the trick with seesaw in variations in general, or seesaw in general, that's why I don't like them, is working through the plie and melting into the plie without making it seem and like you sit in the
or like clunk
or clunk. Yeah,
you don't want to feel like that.
Squeeze and squeeze, retrograde, pirouette. All of the plies have to be so smooth. You can't sit in the plie at all. You have to be continually moving because again, no seams. We can't have seams.
No, because the music's phrasing is like all one sentence rather than like individual words. And so when you're dancing it, you kind of want to have that same quality. You don't want to see individual steps or parts of steps broken up. You need to see it all one phrase. This passage is really difficult. Again, you have to have those clean transitions. You have to hit your fifth and 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 fifth.
And it's interesting because the accent's on the down. For most ballet, your accent will mostly be less emphasis on the plie or on the landing. But this is the opposite. You have and plie and plie and plie and plie, and it has to be
Yeah.
clean fifth, deepest plie of your life.
I think the groundedness of the passage in general, and also just like the music, I think also kind of carries that weight to it. I think it brings a sort of like maturity to
presence.
into sort of the overall aura of the variation. Like something like Canary is a little bit more up here and a little bit lighter, but this one feels very, very weighted. And I think again it carries a little bit more of that authority because she is, you know, sort of, you know, queen of the fairies, if you would.
Yeah. That's pretty much the end of the variation. We have a couple really nice attitudes, and then we have, she gets 2 end poses.
Yeah.
You guys, we have a little Suzu, boom, big seesaw, into boom, arabesque. The cleanest, purest first arabesque of your entire life.
Yeah, and that's the end of the variation.
Yeah. It is so majestic. A beautifully put together variation, and I think it's so hard to dance.
But it's so cohesive with like the story and the symbolism and the overall vibe they're supposed to carry out with this character and with the story. It feels all very well thought out. I mean, like we've been saying with all of the variations
it's
in
all
the
very-
variation series,
Yeah.
like everything feels perfectly fleshed out, honestly.
It's all intentional.
It feels, again, just very intellectually developed, which we appreciate very much as ballet nerds over here.
Yes, our nerdy little brains are like lighting up.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
So good.
oh, amazing.
Lilac Fairy, arguably one of our favorite.
One of our favorite variations.
In the rep in general.
Yeah, I think it's Tchaikovsky. The music is fantastic. The choreography is beautiful. All of these passages, honestly, 10 out of 10 for all of these passages.
Yeah.
Also 10 out of 10 difficulty, but like 10 out of 10 choreography. So we hope you enjoy it. Have a look at Variation 6, which will conclude the official part of the series. Alright, you guys, this has been Variations Part 6, which is almost our final episode. We will have one special episode
To wrap it up.
to wrap it all up next time with Variation Episode 7. In terms of like the fairy variations in the prologue of the Sleeping Beauty, this just about wraps it up. So if you have enjoyed the series, make sure you like the video and go check out the other ones in the series, and we'll have them all linked below in a playlist for you. We really hope you enjoyed sort of following along, because it's been really cool to get into the symbolism and like sort of what's going on and behind the masterminds of the creators of the Sleeping Beauty. So
we've learned a lot through this series as well,
Yeah.
and we hope you guys did too. I think the symbolism is so cool, and
It's
digging
so
into the sort of the backstory of all of these fairies has been fantastic.
it's so fun. It's so cool.
And we're excited to wrap it up in the next one.
Yeah, so make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because Variations Episode 7, or like the bonus episode if you will be coming out very soon, and we definitely want to see you here again.
Do not miss it.
Yeah, don't do that.
Do not forget. Thank you so much to all of our patrons over on
Yes.
Patreon for making this video possible, and for funding in general the future of Ballet Nerd content.
Yes.
Because I'm sure all of the Ballet Nerds here on YouTube really appreciate all of your support, and we
Yes.
appreciate, and our team appreciates you guys' support. So if any of you guys are interested in joining this beautiful list of patrons right here, you can click the link in our description box underneath this video, or you can visit patreon.com/balletrain. We have a lot of fun over there, and also you have the extra bonus of helping us to keep creating videos
Yes.
here on YouTube for free for the Ballet Nerds to watch. To all of our patrons, thank you so much. We love you guys, and we'll see you over on Patreon. Anyways, wow. I think that is all from us for now. This is Ballet Rain signing off until the next video. Bye.
We are going to actually be sort of...
I have to sneeze, hold up.
Okay. Bless you.
Thank you.
I didn't think you'd actually do it, because normally you psych yourself out of your sneeze.
No, that's why I
Congrats.
normally don't interrupt you mid-sentence, because I really had to sneeze.
You need to talk about it.
I
It kind
won't.
of just feels
Yeah,
like...
we can say we have a short little, we have a couple counts of bourrées.
Yeah.
We have
sorry.
Thank you so much to the patrons. Oh, sorry. I may have to sneeze again.
Go for it.
No, I don't.
Nice. You psyched yourself out of that.
I know yourself out of that one.